Hiya, and welcome back to Devil's Gambit, the game that teaches us that we're a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life is plastic. It's fantastic. Anyways, let's just hop right in. Every morning, sunlight leaks like a fall through the window's boards before hitting me on the face, and eventually waking me up. I'm growing tired of it, to say the least. Would it be better to move the bed or to hang something by the window? Pondering this, I turn my back to the light. The day's already started, but I can't get out of bed. And it's not because I had slept little. My nerves aren't delivering the memo that it's time to get up to my extremities. Or maybe they are. Just slowly. Either way, I lay there, staring at the wall, not getting up, but also too mindful to fall back asleep. My head is still full of last night's thoughts, rummaging through them as though madly looking for something, except I doesn't know what that is. Maybe that's why I'm so sluggish. My brain's too busy doing something useless. I wonder what time it is. What would happen if I didn't show up at the hospital today? Gather your wits, Hector. Don't you remember the conclusion you reached last night? Here, take hold of the blanket and toss it back, let the cold do the rest. I drag my arms heavy like trunks until fingerprints peek out from under the blanket, and in a single motion I throw it back. God damn. The cold pierces my all-too-thin gown and flesh, bringing my nerves back to life. Clothes, where are my clothes? As always, Arwell greets me as soon as I climb down the stairs, but there's a hint of worry in his smile today. Good morning, friend. Is something ailing you? Is it that obvious? Trying to avoid his gaze, I look toward the tables and find only two wolves still enjoying their breakfast. Pretty empty today. Everybody got up early and headed to the Baron to see the explorers off. But me, I'm not leaving until every patron's needs have been taken care of. No, sir. Speaking of which, what's wrong? Can I lend you a hand? Or an ear? Thank you, but I just want food now. Sure thing. Oh god. Since we're the only ones in the tavern by the time I finish breakfast, Arwell figures it's time to walk with me to the Baron. Oh, hiya, welcome. 'Twiz the tune. Hang on. Near the stables, wolves in much fewer lines clad in leather armor are fastening loads to the back of beasts with the help of some farmers. See, I'm thirsting for more characters that'll disrespect me. No, I'm trying to give Arwell a Meat Canyon voice. I'm gonna check something real quick. Okay, wrong. I will always simp for characters that will disrespect me. Always. The Duke's guards stand in a formation around them, blocking the other townsfolk from getting too close. We stand among the worried friends, puzzled children, and frustrated women watching the scene. The bar is low. I exposed myself with Lucian and Leo. Hey, I have enough self-respect to not go out with Leo. If he chops off my legs. If he doesn't chop off my legs, on the other hand, I mean, I wouldn't say no. Just kidding. I'm not going to do anything with Leo. Just kidding. No. He is hot, I'll give him that, but no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not with Leo. Absolutely not. What if he had a halo, dressed better, and went to therapy? Well, I mean, just kidding. Still no. While I believe in second chances, there are some things that I just can't look past. He has done some shit that I just can't look past. Arwell? I whisper, as does the dragon. Yes. how do I say this? I thought it'd be a bigger caravan than this. Didn't the Duke want to build a settlement? Oh, yes, yes. The valley proved to be so problematic that His Grace made a tactical decision to postpone that. These men will survey the deeper parts of the valley and recover any relics they come across. Most of my patients in the hospital are scouts that had a run-in with the valley's treacherous terrain or the monsters within. I guess the Duke's still looking for a spot for the settlement, but has had no luck. It's insane that this has been happening for over a year. The wolves are allowed a moment to say goodbye to their families and friends before the guards announce they're departing. The forest is all tall as they walk into it, no doubt invaded by the same encroaching sensation I'd felt last night. No, it must be so much worse, walking into the Devil's Den, unsure of how long they'll last before they wake up in a hospital bed, assuming they get help at all, that the Eye Valley doesn't swallow them up. It's a miracle no one's died yet. Good morning, you two. A small scream escapes me. My ears burn as lion and wolf-like shoot me startled glances. Demons, if you still exist, there's no better moment to kidnap me than now! What's wrong? He's been off since you woke up. It's just because I overslept and I'm running late for work. I have to go now. See you later! Uh-huh. See you later. What a stupid lie, Hector. If you're running late for work, how come you can afford to stop to watch the explorers depart? But Cadgan does impress me, and I avoid what would have been our most awkward conversation yet. No, right? But I don't have any such excuse during dinner. I'd hoped to hold a decent conversation by then, especially because I had no issue focusing while on the clock. When my thoughts get thrown back into the disarray the moment I see the wolf. Hiya, welcome. Cadgan knows something is up. He has to. So, trouble today? Axel, I think you can celebrate. I'm pretty sure Cadgan is still available. What? At the hospital. Oh, he's talking about the expedition. Just the usual. I figured you'd had a rough day. I thought you were jumpy this morning too. I just didn't sleep too well. We eat a few spoonfuls of stew until Cadgan rescues us from the silence. Hector, do you remember the leaf burning festival? It sounds familiar, but where did I hear it first? Not during the stay for sure. Hiya. I try to organize my thoughts to search further back. I asked Cadgan about it once, but before that, the wolf coachman who still had bone and flesh, where now Pegleg is, mentioned it when we visited during late spring. Now comes the hard part. Stringing sentences together. Don't overthink, Hector. Just say something. Anything. Right, I never participated with us staying at the mansion. Cadgan? Him. That's Cadgan. He already knows that, idiot. It'll be summer soon. You should come. I really should now that I have the chance. It seems not even the Duke's tyranny can stop the wolves from celebrating their traditions. What does it entail? We go around town, the forest, and the fields gathering hazeleaves. We hold a carnival before putting them in a heap and burning them. Then we dance and eat. That sounds fun. We do something similar back home, except for the burning part. Is hazeleaf native to Rannai? What does it look like? The wolf takes a sip from his beer. They are these plants with purple midribs. Then I've seen some. They smell funny. The words don't come out after that. Every question I have about the hazeleaf sounds stupid. I'm afraid to bore him if I continue talking about Oblon's traditions. And I draw a blank when coming up with a new topic. In the end, we eat in silence except for when Cadgan makes small talk here and there. The walk to his home is the same. At least there's no demon's touch on the way back. They were busy, far too busy to stalk a foolish badger peering into the forest. I know because the next day I enter the hospital and am received by an unmanned reception and pandemonium resonating from the main ward. As I rush in, I remember the lions and wolves marching into the forest. Memory serves me right, there were 36 men in that caravan. I remember their faces, recognize them lying in the main ward's beds in different states of hurt. Some are strapped down with a lost look in their eyes. Around a third of them are here now. Not wasting any time, I join the others in treating those still in need of urgent care. Hang on. Fucking... I abstained from visiting my usual patients today to help at the hospital. The head doctor orders it. I would have done so regardless. Cadgan arrives at some point and interviews the few men in condition to talk. It's past noon by the time I'm allowed to leave the hospital to take some fresh air. The wolf comes out not long after. Hector. Cadgan. Any findings? Mm-hmm. One of them brought back his logbook. I've been reading it. Yeah, I'm heading to the valley to investigate now. I guess I'll see you later then. Good luck with the demon hunt. Are you done with work for today? Why don't you come too? What, to the valley? Mm-hmm. The expedition is still ongoing and most of the men are out there in the valley. It'd be good for a doctor to be there in case more trouble rears its head. Besides, I'm only going as far as the camp at the border of the valley. What do you say? What would I enter the valley for? To risk getting chewed alive by it as well? It's all danger and nothing to gain. Cadgan has a job to do, notes danger as well, so for him it makes sense. But I'm the complete opposite. Surely there's somebody with more experience that can accompany him instead of me. Whether I turn to instinct or reason, the answer is to stay away. That'd be crazy to go. Later, when we're merrily walking into the forest, I conclude that the only scientific explanation for my choice is that I've lost my damn marbles. Cadgan talks about his morning out on the way to the valley, that an explorer reached the new shrine, the one in the forest asking for help, that a rescue party apparently prepared beforehand was sent out. Yeah. One of the Duke's guards showed up at Cadgan's door, knocked until it woke him up, and relayed this. Unfortunately, the rescue party had taken the explorer to guide them to the camp, so the wolf spent much of the morning waiting for their return. Yes, he is. I think. Once they came back, Cadgan talked to that explorer and then headed to the hospital, and I know the rest. The terrain becomes rougher the closer we draw to the Eye Valley. Cadgan takes my hand and helps me traverse the worst of it. I'm terrified, yet my heart pumps with excitement. God, this is like the little adventures we used to have. Now it's not so little anymore. We are adults after all, and it's the first time I caught a glimpse of Cadgan from 9 years ago. The forest opens up to reveal the ruins I've heard so much about. They are not as imposing as I imagined them to be. Most aren't much bigger than a house back in the village. The ones that were partially collapsed, rubble accumulated on top or inside them. They're almost entirely composed of stone. Now it's rough and crumbling, but that it's still standing at all is paramount to its perseverance. Cadgan? Who do you think lived here? The demons? Tales of demons erecting temples or even entire cities aren't unheard of. But whose accounts always involve a pact with a mortal party, and things going wrong immediately after. It's believed the demons built this place for a tribe contracted to them. We still don't know for sure. Rannai has passed hands between many kingdoms, and since these ruins are easy to reach, they've been looted just as many times. It's regrettable, but there isn't anything left that can tell us the truth. Regrettable indeed. The caravan went this way. Watch your step. Not only is the terrain from here on out more unstable, but there are also pits. I think I'll just stay right behind you. I'd still watch out. They move every once in a while, so I might get surprised by one that wasn't there before. I see. Maybe in a month or two I'll ask him what that means. I need to finish digesting the horrors I've already learned about before asking for another serving. I'm practically hugging him from behind as we descend. Past the ruins is a vast chasm, a scar splitting the mountains from which stone and route sprout. Stone and route sprout. It's Music Rum Club all over again. Stone and route sprout. Apparently I don't know how to speak English. Stone and route sprout is what I said. I'll write it down. Stone. Right there. Stone and route sprout. Past the ruins is a vast chasm, a scar splitting the mountains from which stone and roots sprout. Ruins dwarfing those at the valley's threshold, overgrown with plant life of matching size. Pitch black eyes on the mountain's walls overlook the treetops. Water flows from the neighboring summits, pooling in the valley's depths. The breeze carries the scent of dozens of springs. I breathe in the mixture and it burns my nose so much I check my nostrils for bleeding. Hiya, welcome back. Then I glance at Cadgan, imposing like the mountain range behind him, before proceeding further down. Okay, just take him. Our surroundings turn into more of a jungle than a forest, with smells so concentrated I'm concerned about my nose's sensitivity. A trail of footprints belonging both to wolf and beast tell us we are on the right track. We spot hints of white fabric beyond the dense plant life, and soon find many tents arranged in a semicircle around a campfire that's been out for hours. 2 wolves stand on guard, their hands not leaving their blades' sheaths for a second. We catch sight of a third one walking behind the tents, off to the side of their caravan's beasts, idly munching on flowers. There's also a constant chirping around us, as though dozens of cicadas were hiding in the grass nearby, though I've never heard of cicadas living in a climate like Rannai's. Are you alright, Hector? Yes, I'm overwhelmed is all. I mean, not because I'm scared, though I am. But, being here is an assault on the senses. You'll get used to it. We approach the explorers, who greet Cadgan before asking who I am. After a few introductions, the peacekeeper asks questions about their activities today and yesterday. One wolf recounts the events of last night. It was at night, he says, when the choir around the camp reached its peak and they couldn't even hear their own thoughts. Right after they returned from the day's expedition. He points toward the fireplace, where I picture him sitting in front of the light fire in the dark. The iron pot propped above it holds a bubbling mixture of vegetables and meat. It's nothing fancy, and the smell it's picked up from the ointment used to keep the sweet bugs away makes him turn his nose. But it'll be filling enough. There's fluttering behind him, someone exiting a tent. It's one of the new line recruits from the Duke's land. Wolf expects to be hounded about when food would be ready, but the lion just stares off into the night. He mutters something, but the wolf doesn't catch it. What? The lion scans the dark, searching. One of his friends exits the tent and asks if he's feeling well. Realizing something's wrong, the wolf puts the fire iron down and silently gets to his feet. What should he do? Could it be hazeleaf? If so, it'd be wise to get a tranquilizer while the lion is calm, because chances are he won't stay that way for long. Or would it be better to restrain him now? His friend might not understand. They are outsiders, ignorant of the extent of the valley's dangers. He could call the other wolves for help if they resist. But if Manuel's men see a bunch of wolves ganging up on some lions, they might misunderstand. They'd think it's mutiny, and then it'd only spiral from there. Wolf realizes his only option is to get the tranquilizer. However, that moment of hesitation costs him and everyone else dearly. Just as he makes up his mind, the lion that had been staring into the night screams. He turns around and flees into the darkness behind the camp. The friend makes the mistake of going after him first. Another wolf sees us and follows him, yelling to stop. No, perhaps that is the right choice, since he will die if nobody drags him back. If the earth doesn't swallow him, the wildlife will. The most dangerous creatures lurk at night. However, in the dark and fighting to keep the lion down, and while waiting for somebody to bring a sedative, they fail to notice the trap they have fallen into. A hazeleaf patch that goes unnoticed. It's only when they return to camp and all hell breaks loose that their mistake becomes apparent. The sound of Cadgan clearing his throat brings us back to the present. Where do you keep the sedatives? And about that line you mentioned, who screamed? Are his belongings still here? Where's his mask? After the wolves answer his questions, Cadgan tells them to return to their posts. A detail about the wolf's story is unnerving to me, so I ask Cadgan about it once we are alone in a tent. Cadgan? Yes, Hector? He's searching for something among a pile of bags and crates behind the bedrolls, occasionally lifting a loose lid to check what's inside. His ear points my way, though, waiting for me to continue. Isn't hazeleaf that plant you gather for the festival? The town's hazeleaf is harmless if that's worrying you. But as for the valleys, you saw those massive trees deeper in, right? They looked like the ones in the forest, but gigantic. Yes, the valley does that to them. Similarly, the hazeleaf here grows into something bigger and dangerous. Cadgan grabs a case that was hiding between 2 crates and opens it. A small gasp escapes me at the sight of a series of large syringes holding a pale yellow substance, each held inside a slot by a leather band. 3 slots are vacant. He closes the case and leaves it on a bedroll. The valley's hazeleaf brings out the most primal parts of men. Thanks to the Duke, the people of Rannai are tired and angry. The lions are not only far from home, but surrounded mostly by people cold to them and rumors of demons. Imagine what would happen if they were to lose the capacity to hold back their anger, their fear. And the hazeleaf made the first lion scared, hence him running away, and made the other two that followed him attack their companions. Is that it? Cadgan nods. God, it must have been horrible. Someone in the hospital looked as though a beast did that to them. I assume they used the tranquilizers on the afflicted? Yes, it's best to put them to sleep until the hazeleaf's effect passes. In any case, according to the logbook, yesterday part of the group had difficulties getting back to the camp from one of the deeper parts of the valley. Since it was getting late, they took a risk and crossed a hazeleaf patch to come back. They were wearing masks, so it should have been fine, but it's possible the lion committed a mistake or that his mask was defective, so he inhaled some fumes. And the rest played out like we already heard. I bet that the hazeleaf made his fear for the demons manifest, and he thought he was seeing things in the dark. We'll know for sure once he recovers consciousness. I guess so. Shall we inspect his mask? I'm not very savvy with those. We'll take it to Rannai for somebody else to do that. Are we done then? Not quite. I'd like to find the hazeleaf they said the lion and the other two ran into. The Duke won't be satisfied otherwise, and neither will I. Oh? I'm just starting to worry about the townspeople believing in the demon rumor. If hysterics take over the town, that won't end well. We can't leave a smidge of doubt as to what happened. We are heading deeper then. My shoulders rise as I take a deep breath and exhale. Alright, let's get it over with. You could stay here if you're scared. Please, think of your safety for a moment. What if something happens and you're alone out there? I don't know, Hector. Do you think you could drag me here? Or were I unable to move? I could give you medical attention or call for help. I haven't restocked on elixirs since I left Arswell's nest, but still. Fair enough, just stay behind me. As if he needs to say it. Once we leave the camp, I feel a little kangaroo too scared to abandon his mother's pouch, or Cadgan's back in my case. The wolf readies his axe on the lookout for danger. Through the ever-growing vegetation, I see the mountain's eyes staring at us. Beneath the earth's endlessly spindly fingers follow our movements, never leaving the sole of our feet. The tree branches creep closer, and I'm about to pull Cadgan's cape and shout to watch out when I notice that, rather, they are rocking back and forth. Birds take off from the treetops, the flapping of their wings quickly fading in the distance. We halt as heaven and earth alike suddenly tremble. I clutch the wolf's cape, but soon it becomes apparent that, though big enough to be confused for a titan's step, the source of the tremors is too far away to be a concern. At least Cadgan thinks so, considering he resumes his march. The tremors return intermittently, but we ignore them. That is until Cadgan suddenly stops and I bump into him. What happened? The path ahead looks rather undisturbed. Stay back, Hector. And oh shit. He throws his cape over his shoulder like a makeshift scarf and, after scanning the terrain, pushes a patch of tall grass aside with his blade. The green strands give place to pulsing purple veins spread across the ground. Leaves with razor-sharp edges growing out of them. I lurch back, thinking I see them slither, but that's not it. They're still, yet they aren't.
Wait, you don't do Northern Light. You don't want to read it anymore?
Let me just say this. Because of the drama, I just can't read it. One time I was reading under a tree when it became cloudy. Fearing getting caught in the rain and Dad scolding me for ruining his book, I figured it was time to head home. However, I noticed that while closing the book that the pages became translucent under the sunlight. So I stayed out a bit longer, holding out pages to the sky and watching the letters fade in and out as the clouds passed by. Oh, I love mashed potatoes. They're so good. This in front of me now is just like that, but how? Am I hallucinating? Cadgan, do you see that? What is that? Wolf hops back and fixes his cape. That's our culprit. Eye Valley hazeleaves. Let's get out of here. By the time we are back to the camp, fatigue weighs down my legs and lungs. As a silver lining, Cadgan lets me hold onto his arm the rest of the way to Rannai. I just wish I wasn't out of breath and in pain. Perhaps if he carried me instead. No, Hector! Bury the thought. Aw. Upon returning to the town, one of Manuel's guards intercept us near the hospital. Cadgan hands him the mask and informs him of our findings. He makes it brief since he's more concerned about getting me to Arwell's nest. We stop in front of the tavern. Cadgan is reluctant to let me go, trying to hold my hand as I walk to the door. While I let his touch linger for a bit, I break contact with a chuckle. Come on, I'm not so tired that I can't walk. I should have figured it'd be too much to walk to the camp and then back. Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything below my waist as well as part of my torso is burning, but I can still force a smile. Is it weird that... Never mind. No, go ahead. Is it weird that I had fun? It was scary, but I don't know why. I also enjoyed it. I feel I shouldn't, considering the town's situation. Cadgan shrugs. You've always had a taste for adventure. Don't think too hard about it. He pats me on the shoulder. Get some rest, Hector. You will need it. Alright, see you later. A sigh escapes me as the wolf shows me his back and walks away. Despite my exhaustion of how much I want to get in bed and snore until morning, letting go of him isn't any easier. But, well, after drinking some water and eating a loaf of bread, I head straight to my room and do just that. I consider dropping onto the bed as I am, but my clothes feel hot and itchy. I need something fresh. However, once I change and get in bed, the dreams come easily. The expedition continues across the next few days, but it's a short-lived attempt. The Eye Valley chews the remaining men and spits them out in no time. Manuel isn't happy with Cadgan's reports, insisting the accidents are the work of demons. However, without evidence to back his claims, those are little more than the ramblings of a desperate man. The busy days that follow keep me from thinking much about Cadgan. By the time work slows down and I return to my normal schedule, my thoughts are more in order. As for what I experienced in the Eye Valley, the mountain's eyes, the earth's fingers, the rumbling, and that ever-changing vine, most would forget all about it, bury it somewhere, hoping it never resurfaces. However, when I recall the moment Cadgan asked me to come with him, his hand as we crossed the forest, my fingers gripping his cape, my arm around his on the way back, can't help but hold that ember close to my heart, close to my chest. New journal entries have been unlocked. Act 1, Chapter 9. Cadgan. That is a hell of a start. That is a hell of a start. Hang on. Because I don't trust this location. That is a hell of a start. Nuts slipped from my arms and rolled down the riverbank. Dust and pebbles flew back as I ran to Cadgan's side. Each time the wolf had pulled at his collar, I had thought nothing of it, even today when he had been doing it with such frequency. Seeing him kneeling and gripping his neck while he gasped for air as though his life depended on it was like being slapped in the face. How oblivious could I be? Hadn't I learned from Dad to spot signs, symptoms? But there was no time to regret my foolishness. I had to focus, figure out a way to help him. It was because of the cyclical lethargy. We've been checking him every day. It's very unlikely for that or some other illness to be the cause. Dad would have noticed it. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. An allergy? He ate nothing unusual, nor do I see anything that could have caused a reaction. Could I even make it to the mansion? There was no time to brew anything, and you weren't sure the elixirs you had would help. I didn't even know what was wrong with him. Then you remembered Dad. You had to call Dad. Cadgan stopped me before I could run off. Although in tears and heaving, he still had enough strength to grab me by the arm and pull back so hard it seemed he was trying to make me fall into the river. I got spun around and fell on my face. What are you doing? Just don't go. Don't be a kid. You need medical attention. No, I'm fine. I didn't understand, but seeing that stubbornness, I was inclined to believe him. His grip, both on me and his throat, relaxes a little. What the hell is going on with the other laptop? Where are the nuts? Stop joking around! Cadgan stared longingly at the nuts, as though not being able to reach them was hurting him more than having trouble breathing. With a sigh, I went to get them for him. Some had rolled off and fell into the river. Nothing I could do about that. Thanks. He cracked a nut open and ate it, still holding his throat all the while. After a moment, put a finger on my chin and closed my until then gaping mouth for me. You're welcome. No, wait, what was that? What happened to you? It was nothing. If you don't tell me, I'm asking Dad. You won't. I will if I think you're ill. But I'm not. I mean, besides the lethargy thing or whatever, it's just... Despite my eyes meeting his ears when standing next to each other, it was easy to forget how small Cadgan was. I remembered that for the first time in a long time as I watched him curl up, hugging his knees. He lowered his gaze, but I still caught a glimmer of tears pooling in his eyes. Do you ever feel like someone is squeezing your chest real hard? Or, I don't know, like you have a knot in your throat? And then it's so tight you can't breathe anymore. He choked, unable to keep up the act. Were his tears out of desperation because he couldn't breathe, or did they hold a deeper meaning? Didn't understand until weeks later when Cadgan said it in a way I could get. But until then, the image of the wolf on the ground, as though being choked by an invisible force, became stuck in my head. Whenever I closed my eyes or my thoughts drifted to the wolf, his anguished expression was there waiting for me. When Dad asked me if something was wrong, unable to withstand his gaze on top of everything else, I told him what had happened. First, you shouldn't have kept this a secret. You should have let me know immediately. I'm sorry. I didn't raise you to hide things from me, but I digress. We've examined Cadgan dozens of times, yet the prismalium hasn't revealed an imbalance that could explain what you described. But the prismalium has its limits, namely, can't show us abnormalities in the 5th layer, reason. Then that's where the imbalance is. Isn't that bad? Don't be scared. Although we lack a good understanding of reason, it is but another layer. Illnesses related to it aren't so uncommon, and many aren't life-threatening. And as for if this is related to the cyclical lethargy, I doubt it. We can't be sure, but that doesn't mean we should make baseless assumptions. Okay, but can we help him then? Dad hummed as he rubbed his chin. I know this colleague that studies reason, and he's told me about a few cases similar to what you described. Hector, have you noticed him acting strange in any other way? For instance, has he been sad, angry, or scared? He always seemed angry to me, but that day he was more sad than anything. I asked him if he wanted to look for nuts because I thought that'd cheer him up. He snapped his fingers. Yes, he's always angry. Do you know why? I couldn't look at his face as I said the next few words. The moments I shared with Cadgan what I learned about him, those were only hours. It felt unfair to share it, even with Dad. But if it led me to understanding the wolf better, maybe even helping him, perhaps it was a worthy sacrifice. He doesn't want to be here, and he hates the Duke, or once I thought he hated doctors, but no, he distrusts us because the Duke hired us. It's believed that the mind isn't that different from the less abstract parts of our bodies. Similarly, on to how you can injure your leg by overexerting it, going through certain situations can injure the mind. Cadgan has been captive and kept away from his community for a long time, at the mercy of a man he hates, all because he fell victim to an unknown disease. It's not surprising that it's affecting him, no? Can we help him? The earlier we finish our job, the earlier the Duke will let him go. In the meantime, your friendship might help him get through these difficult times. Keep being kind to him. That's it. That's no excuse to keep secrets. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Dad. That was my first successful lie. What Dad said bugged me. I knew little about reason then. It concerned researchers rather than practicing doctors, so he didn't need to teach me about it. But knowing the learned friends he had, I figured his words made sense. If they made sense, then what was bothering me? I had forgotten about it until now, but I remember it. That nagging sensation in the back of my head, and now I have an idea. Suppose Cadgan was reacting to the abnormal situation he'd been put through. Who's to say the reaction started with him choking when nothing obstructed his throat? Wouldn't it make more sense if that was the end, rather? What happened when every other defense had been overwhelmed? But if so, where did Cadgan end in this response start? It made me nervous, but Hector, you already have an answer to that question. You've seen what he's like in town, but then why did he let me follow him into the valley? Maybe there's more left of the old Cadgan than I realize. Well, you won't get anywhere worrying all by yourself. Why not ask him about it? You know, it's not a good idea, but you might need this no matter the result. I don't know, I'm too nervous. Would picking a day to talk to him help? How about the day of the leaf burning festival? Perhaps that will do. Yes, perhaps. New journal entry has been unlocked. Act 1, Chapter 10. A Talk with the Duke. Oh, fun. This bitch. After how my first visit went, I'm not thrilled to return to meet again with Manuel. But with my first payment drawing closer comes the realization that it will be necessary since I failed to explain my situation and what I want to do with the money. I don't wish to provoke that sudden rage again. When the guard comes back and says that Manuel will see me, it's like I'm about to tread the edge of a pit. A single misstep means taking a plunge into the abyss. Thankfully, there aren't any wax models in his study today. Manuel is in deep thought as he writes something down, but gets up from his desk to greet me when I arrive. It's you. What do you want? Greetings, Your Grace. It's an honor to be in your presence again. I wanted to talk about my payment. Is it possible to have part of it delivered somewhere else? It depends. Where do you want to send it? Back to my Aunt Nora in Oblon. My hometown needs the money, you see. How far is it? Oh, it's quite a way away. It took me a little over 3 weeks to get here. My fingers are trembling. Please don't refuse to do this now. Not when I've already wasted so much time. I can't move the money myself, and I don't know anyone who could reliably transport it. However, the Duke shrugs. That's all? Very well. It will be arranged. How much of your payment are we talking about? A half? A fourth? Half. The Duke calls for the guards to waiting outside and repeats what I told him. The man assures him he'll see it done before excusing himself in a hurry. Is that all? Actually, Your Grace, there's something else. Come out with it then. I'm expecting somebody else today. I don't know if you're aware, but 9 years ago, your father kept a young wolf here as a guest. His eyebrows furrow, and I brace intentionally for him to lash out at me. Said he shoots back a question in a confused tone. 9 years ago? I'm afraid back then I was still in the middle of my world tour, studying under the guidance of many doctors of great renown. I believe I heard my father took in a few guests while I was away, so there was a child among them. You might be mistaken, but let it slide, Hector. The important part is not contradicting him. His Grace back then, Duke Leopoldino, hired my father to look into the child's condition, but our findings were inconclusive. I wondered if you could shed some light on what the illness was. Interesting. Let's take a stroll while we talk. Our steps echo in the mansion's hallways. To make it brief and out of respect for Cadgan's privacy, I'll only describe the cyclical lethargy symptoms and the tests Dad performed. The Duke is interested only in that anyway. Okay, I'm getting... What's that fucker's name? The lion bitch from Robin Hood 1973. What was his name? I can't remember his fucking name. Prince John. That's his name. That's his name. Prince John. I'm getting Prince John vibes from him. I just wanted to point that out. Fucking Robin Hood. Disney's Robin Hood from 1973. Speaking of Dad, I feel grateful to him right now. I wouldn't be able to hold my tongue in the face of the Duke's arrogance if not for his education. My oh my, Father was expecting too much out of some backwater town's witch doctor. Sleep disorders like these are very unusual, but it's nothing unheard of. His insulting dad makes my heart sink and my blood heats up. But no, I need to keep my composure. You're a coward, Hector, but that's not always a bad thing. Cowardice can be a means of survival. I swallow every defense of my father, every insult aching to be hurled at the Duke, and coldly move on to my next question. What about the periods of weakness? That can be a symptom as well, though I admit it's peculiar that it happened at a certain time of the day. Cadgan called it cyclical lethargy, yes? Perhaps you're dealing with a new disorder. I'll have to consult with my colleagues if there's a precedent for such a thing. His curiosity ignited, Manuel mumbles to himself about who he should write to. Maybe I'm pushing my luck, but I need to ask him one more question. Sorry to interrupt, Your Grace, but what about the prismilium readings we received? Are those normal in these sleep disorder patients too? No, they aren't, but the irregular readings might have been unrelated to the cyclical lethargy. It's what make the most sense, assuming they weren't a mistake on your father's end. I'd like to examine the wolf in question, but I assume that is impossible as I haven't caught wind of any resident with the mysterious disease. I'm afraid so, yes, he's gone. Even if Cadgan was still sick, I wouldn't direct the Duke to him. It's plain to see Manuel's interest veers towards research rather than healing. We are approaching the study when the Duke notices my eyes trailing off to the portrait of the sad-eyed lioness. Beautiful, isn't she? Who is she? Grandfather's first wife, Lady Josephina. It's nice to have a name for her after so long and to have something to remember her besides her sadness. Your grandmother, then. She's beautiful. Not quite my grandmother. We are separated by too many generations. After a moment, I blink and turn to him. I don't understand. Might come from a backwater town, as the Duke put it, but even I know that this kingdom's rules are that the male firstborn inherits his father's rank. He tacitly confirmed being related to Lady Josephina, which means the only person between them should be Leopoldino. Manuel shows me one of his rare smiles, but that only makes me more uncomfortable. Do you not know my family's history? Come, I will show you. Fun. Back inside the study, he receives a tall framed parchment labeled Dynastia Gloriosa de Restauraccio Gonzaga de Florenza e Burgundia e Veneza. I butchered that probably. There's a bunch of tiny portraits and names on it, arranged and connected in a manner reminiscent of a family tree. Oh shit. I say reminiscent because the connections are more akin to a spider's web than a tree. Many of the lines are inked in different colors for better readability, but I still don't know where to start. While the Duke is going off about his great-great-something grandfather, I'm just trying to find where he is in this mess. Here he is, Manuel, and then that's his mother, but where's Leopoldino? My eyes grow wide as they go up a staircase of lionesses, all mothers of the last, and all looping back to where Leopoldino was. 3 spaces above where you'd expect to find him. And also, the one he had his first daughter with was his sister. What the fuck? I don't dare look further up, but what little I gleaned tells me it's even worse. Whatever you do, Hector, don't say what's on your mind. I'm saved when a guard knocks and announces the next guest is already here. Lion clears his throat and holds the family web to his chest. You'll have to leave. I have confidential matters to attend to with my other guest. Such a shame. Let's continue this delightful conversation another day. Right, of course. I won't take any more of your time, Your Grace. Such is the relief that washes over me after I leave that study that, upon reaching the lower floor, I almost miss an old wolf being escorted down the hallway to my left. His limping reminds me of Finbar. He must have received that injury during one expedition. And I suppose it makes sense the Duke isn't meeting him in his study. Dad was a witch doctor in his eyes, and he's only spared me of that label because I used some of his inventions. Whatever he thinks of the wolves must be horrible enough to sink my heart into new depths. Makes me wonder why this wolf is meeting with the Duke, but my desire to leave outweighs my curiosity. As I leave the mansion behind, my thoughts trail back to Lady Josephina. It's no wonder her eyes reflected such sorrow. Seeing the web on paper was horror. I can't imagine being there when it was weaved. New journal entry has been unlocked. Act 1, Chapter 11. The Leaf Burning Festival. Okay, I'm going to take a look at that journal. Because, what the fuck? Eogan, Manuel, Leopoldino, Finbar, Aunt Nora, places. Like, what the fuck? Okay. I'm sorry, but like, that's just something else. The dark overtakes everything as I keep staring at my room's ceiling. I'm almost shaking under all 3 bed sheets, unable to withstand the cold any longer. It disappeared for a while after the visit to the Eye Valley, only to return 2 nights ago. I've wandered away from the fire for too long, though it might be more accurate to say the embers have gone cold again. There's much keeping me busy during the day, enough that I don't notice it. It's only when I'm here alone, wishing to be elsewhere and with someone at my side, that I tremble. The leaf-burning festival had seemed close when picking it to talk with Cadgan, but the nearer it draws, the longer the nights become. No matter how long I close my eyes, thinking about what to do and say keeps me awake. Oh, Cadgan, I really liked it when you stole my food, used me as an armrest, and suggested we do dangerous things all the time. Can you do that again? Absurd. Eventually, I tire of the fuzzy chaos behind my eyelids and choose to stare at the ceiling instead. That's when it spreads my back, and my nerves stir as I am laying on a bed of nails. That is until exhaustion overtakes me in what has to be the slowest, most torturous lullaby. Except today it's too much. I'm sick of the ceiling, of these sensations. I throw the bedsheets back, they do nothing, and head out. From the upper floor, I see movement behind the bar. A lone lamp illuminates Arwell's form. He's drinking some beer. The dragon looks my way when I finish descending the stairs, squinting before gasping in surprise.
Friend, what are you doing up so late?
Couldn't sleep. Do you usually drink at night?
Yup, want some?
I'd like to just sit down. Arwell gulps the drink down and after letting out a satisfied ah, begins cleaning the mug.
What ails you, friend?
Who knows? What is ailing you to be drinking at night?
Just the usual. Everybody's so unhappy as of late. It's difficult to see my clients with such long faces despite my best efforts. That no one has been capable of taking me in years. And believe me, brave souls have tried.
His breath reeks of alcohol. This definitely wasn't the first mug he downed tonight. Hell, maybe you should summon a succubus. I'm sure it would welcome the challenge.
Succubus? What's that?
Once read in a book there are demons that offer mortals sexual favors. The ones that seek to be penetrated are called succubus. What the fuck? Okay then. Well, that same book also warned never to fuck one since there are too many risks, but it might be worth in your case, no?
Giving up my soul to a demon or never fucking somebody again. Which one's worse? Options.
The dragon makes a thinking gesture before pouring himself another mug.
But no, even if it didn't take my soul, I don't want a one-night stand with a demon, no sir. Arwell is at the age where he's looking for a committed relationship.
Betting on a talented foreigner to show up one of these days?
Not exactly. It's true that no one can take me, but never did I say that's a requirement. I don't even prefer it, to be honest.
Oh! Gilded scales glint behind him as his tail shakes, dragging against the wood behind. Oh!
Though I wouldn't mind if that talented foreigner were to show up.
Drink
If he was
water.
anything like you with that plump build and pleading eyes, it'd be
It's
my
time to drink
pleasure to
water.
clap his cheeks.
Time to drink water.
I've heard
It's
dragons
time to
can
drink
sense
water.
changes in body temperature. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but right now, I hope it's a lie because I don't want an Orwell to notice how hot my face has gotten. Is he teasing me or is he so drunk that he's babbling nonsense? Dragons don't have that much alcohol resistance, right? I should have secured Manuel's journal on them.
I was thinking, could it be the thing from the other day still bothering you? I hope I don't seem nosy.
No, you don't, but, it might not be a bad idea to talk to Arwell, if only because I could use a listening ear and he's so intoxicated he might not remember this by tomorrow. Just in case. Be subtle, Hector. You see, it's about Cadgan. The fact the dragon just nods tells me he suspected that was the case. I know I'm obvious, but Arwell noticing that sends blood rushing to my ears. But don't stumble now, Hector, unless you want to embarrass yourself further. I told you Cadgan was very different when young, yes? Is it bad that I liked him better that way?
What do you mean?
He used to have this energy to him like he never faltered. I admired that. I really did, and now I miss it. And I don't understand how he can be so calm with everything the Duke's doing.
Well, the current situation in Rannai is complicated. I think Cadgan knows he won't accomplish much by getting mad at his grace. He has changed, but that's only because he grew as a person.
The expedition won't last forever. Rannai just needs to get through this tough period. Cadgan has been doing much good with his peacekeeping.
I reckon if not for him, blood would have spilled by now.
I know, but I still miss him.
I'm afraid I don't understand you there, my friend, but perhaps I can still offer some advice.
This is something my parents told me once. They've been married for 40 years and are still going strong. By the time I could walk, they had grown sick of each other, and I mean a kind of sick where Mom couldn't stand Dad so much. She would rather take her pillow in the bedsheet and sleep on the floor next to my bed than be with him. But love persevered in the end. Want to know why? Why?
It's hard to let go of the people you love. When that love is real, it's like losing a part of yourself, right? It always starts as a blessing, but it turned into a curse for my parents when they grew into people too different for when they married. You and Cadgan aren't a couple, but what you said reminded me of that. But then it was a blessing again because they still didn't want to be apart. It wouldn't be the way it was at the start, but they tried to make it work and fall in love with each other again, fall in love with each other all over again. And that's how it is. When you want to keep someone close, when you do anything for them, you gotta put in the effort to make it work. Love makes it worth it.
The sun rises and pale light washes over the town. The wolf dressed in black is doing his morning rounds, systematically turning off every oil lamp. Wolf sits by the stables, peering into the forest, watching for returning scouts. While the farmers are out working the fields or letting herbs, women and children walk the streets, painting the walls with crude depictions of gaping, pitch-black mouths, red eyes, and claws. The construction crews are erecting stalls and preparing the to-be bonfire in front of the old shrine. On account of its tower, it's the tallest building in Rannai, though not the biggest. That honor belongs to the hospital. With most of the town's priests dead or retired, and the last of them having retreated to a humbler place in the forest, it saw little use even 11 years ago. Nowadays, it's been turned into a storehouse. Capeless Cadgan transports bundles of branches long as his body over his shoulder, tossing them into the to-be bonfire before rearranging them. I'm standing across the street, watching his bulging biceps and gray back all the while. So enthralled am I that I don't notice his eyes on mine. The wolf jogs towards me.
Hello, Hector. Out of the hospital already?
Yes, I was on my way to see my patients in town. How are the preparations going?
Pretty well, though this year's festival will have to be a little humble. Usually we gather money to hire a band from the next town over.
Surely Rannai has some musical talent. It'll be a good chance to see what they can do. Mm-hmm. I adjust my belt. I better get back to work. Before you go, have you collected any hazeleaf yet? I know it's the point of the festival, but it slipped from my mind. Or maybe I don't want to think of the purple phasing vines from the Eye Valley. Let's meet at home later. I also haven't gathered mine, so we can do it together. Sure thing. It's almost sunset when I arrive at Cadgan's place and we dive into the forest. It's a quick endeavor, as the mind-numbing hazeleaf is easy to differentiate from the many other smells. Once I'm the one leading Cadgan, which I'm proud of, although I have second thoughts when I reach for the purplish herb. It's nothing like the vines I witnessed in the valley, but the knowledge of the chaos they caused during the latest expedition gives me pause. I just rip it and put it in the pouch. Drums reverberate ferociously as though to tear down houses and trees alike. Wolves wearing loincloths, painted demons' faces, and horn-shaped wooden cups over their ears bounce through the streets with baskets in their hands. My heart stops at the sight of purple vines creeping up the walls. But upon closer inspection, they are just ropes that have been dyed purple and propped up with nails. I can't catch a break, though, as one of the demons stops centimeters from my nose, muttering a phrase I don't understand. What?
And all your offering, or else you'll suffer the curse.
Oh, this? The demon tosses my hazeleaf inside the basket before turning to Cadgan and repeating the process. He then hops away in search of more of these unusual tithes. I'm glad everybody's enjoying themselves. I like the music too. It looks like you didn't need that band after all. Drumming is too intense for my liking, but it fits the festival's mood much better than the cheerful tunes of bands often play. Two children are running all over the place with sticks in their hands, their mother chasing them not too far behind. Wolves and even a few lions are trying their luck at the game stalls. One is rows of tiny wooden soldiers arranged on a shelf. The owner hands 3 stones each and tells us to knock over as many soldiers as we can. I'm nervous from all the eyes on us, but that doesn't compare to when my stone bounces off from a statue. Take a step back and put my entire body into the next 2 throws, only barely knocking over 2 soldiers. Just how heavy are these things? Cadgan pats me on the shoulder and gives me a small smile. The owner stands back when the mountain of a wolf prepares to swing. Next plays out a spectacle of soldiers flying and falling all over the place before being swallowed by the void between the stall and the shelf. It's not just a sheer strength. He sends them flying in such a way they knock over everything else nearby. Perfectly calculated destruction. A small audience follows us, so we move to the next game. It's no wonder, be it a competition of intelligence, strength, or precision, Cadgan conquers it. They don't cheer as much for me, but it's alright. All I care about is that Cadgan is looking at me and having fun. Eventually, the pace of the drumming picks up as the demons gather and dance around the bonfire. Then they shoot off in different directions, tearing the vines from walls as they go. Oh my, is it time for the burning? Mm-hmm. Wanna watch it? Having rid the town of all the vines, the demons reunite in front of the old church once again and light the fire. Their dance continues as they toss in first the ropes, then the hazeleaves. The townspeople clap their hands in the rhythm of the drums. I join them, so does Cadgan after me. The big wolf struggles to find the song's beat for a moment, so he just looks my way and claps after I do. A chuckle escapes me, at which point I notice the inside of his ears turn a little red, or maybe it's the fire. Then it's my ears' turn to get red when the wolf's tail brushes against my leg, seemingly without its master realizing it. So soft I'm tempted to grab it just to feel it up. And taking that pleasant, unique aroma I only sense hints of from this does no ignore it, Hector. Keep your eyes on the dance. Unfortunately, the side of the dancer is bulky yet agile silhouettes circling the bonfire ends up being like oil to the fire in my crotch. Why are they also voluminous? I continue clapping, hoping that Cadgan doesn't notice. We're gonna leave off here tonight. I just gotta stop. My heart just isn't in it right now. Well, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.